everyone, this is Sarah and welcome to Salmond. Today I'll be making plant markers using items I already have around the house. If you like what you see here, please be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification button below. If you know anyone that would like this video or my channel, please share this link because every view and every subscriber really helps enable me to keep creating videos for you. If you would like to see more of what I do, you can follow me on Instagram, Facebook, or take a look at my blog. The links are in the description below. For this project, I'll be using my clay press. I have had this for years and years. It's been packed away in a closet along with the polymer clay that I've had. I haven't done anything in a long time with these. I also pulled out from my stash some old Sculpey that I had. Now, this isn't a pottery color, I believe is the color it's called. I'm not even sure if they still make this anymore. Again, this was packed away for several years. Now, the beauty of polymer clay is that unless it's baked, it never goes bad. So if you have it just put away somewhere in a dark area, it's not exposed to heat or sunlight, it should last quite a long time. Now, this, I'm just trying to push it down to try to condition it through my clay press. It's hard because it's a little bit hard, but you can condition it. You can get it back into shape. If it's too hard simply to work with, you can use baby oil, a few drops, to add into the polymers as you knead them together and make them a little bit more pliable. It will put back some of the consistency into the polymer clay that it has lost. You can also use a clay softener that they make specifically for polymer clay. Again, kneading it into the clay, it will help soften it, make it a little bit more pliable. Now, as you can see here, my clay, even though it's several years old, has flattened out pretty well. I did point out some specks that were in the clay. This is because apparently I didn't clean my clay press the last time I used it, and it pulled out some of the darker color clay that was already in there. And that's okay for this project because I am simply trying to make it look like a natural terracotta. It will have some discoloration in it if it's a natural product, so I'm really not worried about that. Also, by the time I am finished conditioning the clay and getting it how I want it to look, then that will be pretty well kneaded in. You will never see that discoloration. So again, I'm just putting this through the clay press, and I'm doing this, I think I did this at least 10 times just to get it softened up. I did end up using a little bit of clay softener into it, just a few drops, to help bring that elasticity back into it. I didn't show that on film, but again, just warming it up gently between your palms will also help bring some elasticity back into it as well. I've seen some people say you can microwave it for a few seconds. I've never tried that, and I'm not sure I would want to, but it does work back into a usable consistency with just a little bit of effort, even if it's really old clay. Once I have the clay conditioned and rolled out flat, I'm simply going to use this leaf-shaped cutter. And this is specifically made for polymer clay. I picked it up. It's a leaf shape, but you can use cookie cutters or anything you'd like to go ahead and cut your clay. And I'm just going to cut out right now 2 plant markers. And it's a bit stiffer than dough, but you push it down firmly and gently, and it will cut all the way through. Then it's simply a matter of pulling off the extra clay, and being stiffer, it does hold its shape really well. You don't have to worry about that. And then I'm just squeezing this back into a ball. It can be used again later. This is simply a piece of a straw that I've cut off of a larger straw, and using just again some firm downward pressure, I push it down to make the holes for the plant markers. And I keep my finger over the top of the straw, and that really just helps to get that pushed down through without the straw bending at all. And there you can see I have everything cut out. It looks really nice, and it's ready to move on to the next step. Now I'm simply going to take these embossing tools, and I'm going to find one that I think has a nice rounded tip that's about the width that I want to emboss into my clay. And I'm simply going to emboss the word chives into one of my plant markers. And again, the beauty of this is if you do mess up, you can simply knead this back into the ball of poly clay, run it through your clay press again, and start over. It's pretty much something you can't mess up. Once you have your plant markers looking how you want them to look, it's time to bake them. You can either place them on a ceramic tile and cook them in a toaster oven or a regular oven, or you can also put them on a pan that is dedicated simply to polymer clay. So what I'm doing here is I'm just placing these on a ceramic tile. I'm going to go ahead and bake them in my oven at 275 for about 15 minutes. Then what I do is just turn off the oven, let everything cool down in the oven itself. Now that these are completely cooled down, I am going to go ahead and remove them from the ceramic tile. And as you can see, they're nice and they're solid, they're ready to go. And they're a little bit rough on top from where I had used the embossing tool. So here I am just sanding everything down smooth. Now where you see the letters coming out so nice and white looking, it's not magic, it's simply the dust that's getting down into those letter grooves. So once I clean these off, they're not going to be quite as easy to read and quite so bright. But we are going to go ahead and we are going to fix that in our next step. All right, here they are all cleaned off. I just washed them off with water and scrubbed them down with a soft toothbrush just to get down into all the crevices from the embossing. And the next step, I'm just going to take some of this acrylic paint, and it's in a tan color. I didn't want to go white or anything too stark. I want these to have kind of an aged natural look to them. And I'm going to take a very fine bristle brush, and I am simply going to use a little bit of paint to go down into the embossed areas and make that lettering pop out with just a little bit of paint. Alright, now here are the pieces. The paint has dried on them and it wasn't a perfect paint job. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and sand over these one more time. And what this is going to do is any paint that had gotten on the outside of the embossed letters, it's going to go ahead and sand those right off, give it a neater appearance. And as I go through and sand things out, it'll also smooth things out a little bit. You can see the lines that my clay press had left, and I really don't like those very well, but I didn't really feel like sanding this down past that point. So I'm going to go ahead and leave those. I also think it gives them more of a handmade feel. It's not perfect by any means. The lettering kind of gives it a handmade feel as well. And I think these are really coming out really cute. So I'm going to go ahead and get these all sanded down so that the paint looks pretty good. And then we are going to move on to the next step. Now for the next step, what I did was I went ahead and coated these all with some of the dishwasher safe Mod Podge. Yes, this can be used outside quite effectively. And what I did was I just gave the front of all of these a coat of the Mod Podge, and this will just help seal in the paint so it doesn't weather quite as quickly. The polymer clay itself is fine for outdoors. Now for my next step, I'm using some of this copper wire that I had on hand. If you don't have copper wire, if you have old wire coat hangers or whatever you can use that you can find around the house, that will work just fine. We just need a wire that's sturdy enough to hold up our plant markers in the garden. Now to cut this, I'm just going to use these heavy-duty wire cutters. Now for this last step, what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure out lengths of wire to 18 inches, and then I am just going to cut them. And the easiest way I found to cut this was just to clamp it in between the wire cutters and then just bend the wire cutters themselves back and forth on the wire until it snaps off. Then I'm just going to go ahead and bend the top of the wire into the shape I would like to hold my plant marker. And that is it, guys. Now it's simply time to slip the polymer clay tag onto our plant marker stake, and they are ready to go be placed in the garden. I really love how these came out. I wasn't sure I was going to like the shape since, again, they were not the shape I originally intended, but they came out just great, and they'll look perfect in my herb garden. If you liked this video, please be sure to hit that like button as well as share it with friends who may also enjoy it. If you like my channel, hit that subscribe button, and when the notification bell pops up, be sure you hit that as well so you never miss a video. And, as always, have a great day and stay crafty.